Parmenion leaned out, taking Doray's hand and swinging her up behind him. Then he touched heels to the men and walked the beast back into the trees. Within minutes, Patroclus came galloping toward them, followed by Leonidas and the others. Parmenion raised his hand, and the red-bearded Sparta drew rein as Doray eased herself to the ground. "What happened here?" Leonidas demanded, pushing his way to the front. Parmenion and the others blocked the pass, said Doray. "He killed one of their scouts, then negotiated to allow them through if they gave me up." "What others?" asked Patroclus. "Archers, I suppose," said Doray. "He threatened to kill all the raiders unless they released me." "Where are these other men?" Patroclus inquired of Parmenion. "I would like to thank them." "There are no others," Parmenion told him. Edging his mount forward, he rode through the group and back down the scree slope to where the wagon was waiting. Tossing the quiver and bow to Tinus, he lifted a water skin from the seat beside the servant and drank deeply. Xenophon rode alongside. "You did well, Strategos. You found where the trail swung east, but we would have been too late had you not blocked the pass. I am proud of you." He tossed a blood-covered arrow to Tinus. It was a fine strike at the base of the throat, severing the windpipe and lodging in the spine. A fine strike. I was aiming for the chest or belly, but I overcompensated for the gradient. Xenophon was about to speak when he noticed Parmenion's hands begin to tremble. He glanced at the young man's face, which showed no expression, though the blood had drained from it. "Are you well?" asked the Athenian. "My head is pounding and there are lights flashing in my eyes." "We will camp here," said Xenophon. Parmenion dismounted and staggered several paces before falling to his knees and vomiting. Then he stood and sucked in great gulps of air. Xenophon brought him the water skin and he rinsed his mouth. "You feel better?" "I'm shaking like a leaf in a storm. I can't believe it. Back there I was so calm, but now I'm acting like a frightened child. Back there was the work of a man, a cool man, a man of iron nerve," Xenophon assured him. "This takes nothing from it. I feel as if there are hot lances inside my head. I've never known pain like it." Parmenion sat down, resting his back against the wagon wheel, "and the light is burning my eyes." Tinus climbed down from the wagon, holding a wide hat of straw over Parmenion's head to shade him. The pain grew and Parmenion slipped into darkness. Parmenion awoke several times in the night, but his head seemed filled with searing light, bringing agony and nausea. With an effort of will, he slipped back into the sanctuary of sleep. When finally he opened his eyes, the absence of pain was almost blissful. He was lying in a cool room with the shutters closed, and he could hear the low hum of conversation beyond the whitewashed walls. He sat up and saw that his left forearm was bandaged, but he could not remember being wounded. Someone stirred in a chair across the room, and a man rose and walked over to him. He was short and slender, with wispy grey hair. He smiled. "The pain is gone, yes?" inquired the man, his voice deep and faintly comical, coming from so frail a body. "Yes," agreed Parmenion. "What happened to me?" "The world," said the man, sitting on the bed beside him, "is made up of 4 elements, earth, air, fire, and water, but it is held in harmony by the will of the gods. As I understand it, you displayed an act of rare courage. You put yourself under severe stress. This caused an excess of fire in your system, heating your blood and destroying your harmony. Hot blood coursed in your brain, causing intense pain and nausea. You bled me then?" said Parmenion, touching the bandage on his arm. "I did. It is well known that this relieves the pressure if you feel faint. I will repeat the process." "No, I feel fine." "Good. I will tell the general you are well, but you ought to be purged, young man. It would be safer." "Truly I am well. The pain has gone. I commend your skill." The little man smiled. "In truth, I am better with wounds, but I study," he confided. "Will this happen to me whenever I face danger?" "It is unlikely. I have known many men to suffer such head pain, but the attacks are usually rare and only accompany times of undue stress. It is common also among clerics who complain of blurred vision and dancing lights before their eyes. Opium is the best cure for this. Process to the Egyptian formula. I will leave some with Xenophon in case your pain returns." Parmenion lay back. He fell asleep once more, and when he awoke, Xenophon was sitting beside him. "You gave us a scare, Strategos. The good doctor wanted to drill a hole into your skull to release the bad humors, but I dissuaded him. Where are we?" "Olympia." "You mean I have slept for a full day?" "More than that," replied Xenophon. "It is now almost noon on the 2nd day. I had hoped to take you hunting, but as it is, the doctor says you should rest for today." "I'm well enough to ride," Parmenion argued. "I am sure you are," agreed Xenophon soothingly, "but I will not allow it. The doctor has spoken, and we will follow his advice. Anyway, there is a guest to see you, and I am sure you will not object to spending time with her while I ride out to hunt with her father." Deray, here? Waiting in the gardens. Now remember, my boy, to appear feeble and wan, elicit her sympathy. I need to bathe and shave. And to dress. Let us not forget that, said Xenophon, as the naked Parmenion threw back his sheet and rose from the bed. The gardens were constructed around a shallow stream flowing from the eastern hills. White boulders had been carefully polished and placed in circles, half buried in the soil. Around them, brightly colored flowers had been planted after the fashion of the Persians. Stone pathways had been designed to meander through the grooves of oak trees, and stone benches were placed in shaded hollows. There were statues from Corinth and Thebes, mostly showing the goddess Athena in full armor and one of Artemis carrying a bow. By a small, man-made lake there was a series of statues portraying the 12 labors of Heracles. Usually Parmenion would sit by them, enjoying the cool breeze across the water, but not today. He found Deray sitting by the stream under the shade of a willow. She was dressed in an ankle-length chiton of white edged with green and gold. Around her waist and looped over her shoulders was a sea-green chlamys, a long rectangular strip of fine linen, delicately embroidered. As she saw him, she stood and smiled. "Are you now well, hero?" she asked. "Indeed I am. You are looking beautiful. Your clothes are very fine." "Thank you. But you are pale. Perhaps you should rest for a while." They sat together in uncomfortable silence for several minutes until Deray laid her hand on his arm. "I wanted to thank you. I was terrified. You have no idea how I felt when you stood upon that rock and demanded my release. It was as if you were sent by the gods." "Perhaps I was," he whispered, covering her hand with his own. "My father was very impressed by your courage and your initiative. I was really convinced there were men with you." Parmenion grinned. "Xenophon taught me that victory is achieved by putting the thought of defeat into the heart of your enemy. To him goes the honor, but to you the glory. I like to see you smile, Savra. It makes you handsome. You do not smile enough." A hand was warm beneath his, and he could feel her closeness and smell the heavy scent of the perfumed oil on her hair. Her head was tilted toward him, and he could not read her eyes. The pupils were wide, her face flushed, her lips slightly parted. He found himself leaning closer toward her. She did not draw back, and his lips touched hers. Her arms encircled his neck, her body pressed into him, and he could feel her breast against his chest. He felt dizzy yet exhilarated. His hand slid along her shoulder and down her arm. Her hand came up to close over his fingers. For a moment only he felt disappointment. Then she drew his hand down to her breast. Then, as swiftly as it had begun, Deray ended the embrace, pulling back sharply. "Not here, not now," she pleaded. "When?" asked Parmenion, battling to control his surging emotions. "When they have gone, we will hear the horses." "Yes, the horses." They sat in unnatural silence, waiting, listening as the grooms beyond the garden wall brought out the mounts, hearing the laughter of the hunters, men boasting of their skills and others mocking with gentle humor. Then came the thunder of hooves, and quiet descended on the garden. Parmenion stood, reached out and took Deray's hand, drawing her up to him. He kissed her again, and they walked back through the garden gate and on to the house. Back in his room, Parmenion gently untied the thongs at Deray's shoulder, the white and green chiton falling to the floor. Stepping back, he gazed at her upper body. Her arms and face were bronzed, but her breast and waist were white as marble. Tentatively he reached out to touch her breast, his palm stroking gently across the raised nipple. She unfastened the brooch that held his chiton, and, naked now, they moved to the bed. For a while they kissed and touched, but then Deray lay back, drawing Parmenion onto her. He groaned as he entered her and felt her legs slide up over his hips. In all his life he had never known such pleasure or dreamed of scaling such a peak of joy. It was madness, he knew, but he had no control, wished for none. Even the thought of death could not stop him now. His passion made him want to power into her. Yet he did not wish the moment to end, and forced himself to move slowly, rhythmically, his eyes open, watching her face. Her eyes were closed, her cheeks flushed. He brushed his lips against hers, and her mouth opened, her tongue darting against his own. He felt himself building to a climax and slid from her. "No," she said, pulling at him. He knelt by the side of the bed, running his tongue across her flat belly when she lifted her thigh across his shoulder. "What are you doing?" she asked, struggling to sit. He pushed her back and lowered his head between her legs. Her hair was soft, pelt-like, and his tongue caressed her. She began to moan, softly at first and then louder. She shuddered against him, her hands tugging at his hair. Climbing to the bed, he entered her once more. The Ray's arms encircled his neck, and she clung to him with fierce strength until he, too, reached the climax. Bathed in sweat, they lay together with arms entwined. Now that it was over, the passion spent, all Parmenian's fear came rushing back. What they had done was against the law. What if the servants had seen them walking hand in hand from the garden, and could they have failed to hear her cries or the creaking of the bed? Raising himself on his elbow, he looked down at the girl. Her eyes were closed, her face wondrous in its beauty. He knew then that she was worth the risk, worth any risk. "I love you," he whispered. Her eyes opened. "I had a dream," she said. 3 days ago. I went to a seeress with it. She told me that it meant I would love only one man in my life, and that he would stand and defy an army for me." "What was your dream?" "I dreamed I was in a temple and all was darkness, and I said, 'Where is the Lion of Macedon?' The sun shone then, and I saw a general in a white-plumed helmet. He was tall and proud and walking with a light at his back. He saw me and opened his arms. He called me his love. That's all I remember." "Why was there darkness? You said the sun was shining." "I don't know, but the dream disturbed me. I should have thought of you, for you are half Macedonian. You are the Lion of Macedon from my dream." He chuckled. "I am told Macedon has few lions," he said, "and it is not a country renowned for producing generals. You don't believe in my dream?" "I believe we are destined to be together," he told her, "and I would defy an army for you." "You already have." "That wasn't an army, that was a rabble, but I could bless them now for bringing us together." Leaning down, he kissed her and his passion returned. For 5 days the lovers met in secret, riding out into the hills high above the land. They saw only a few shepherd girls and spent their days wandering through the woods and making love in sheltered hollows. For Parmenion it was a time of bliss beyond imagining. His bitterness fled from him, and he reveled in the glory of the summer sun, the clear blue skies, and the beauty of the land. The cruelties of his life seemed distant now, like the memory of winter snow. He could picture them, but could not feel the icy cold of their reality. On the morning of the 6th day his world changed. He led the chestnut mare from her stall at the rear of the white-walled house and bridled her. Xenophon walked to him, laying a hand on his arm. "Do not ride today," he said softly. "I need to feel the wind in my face. I will be back soon." "I said no," Xenophon snapped. "And if you need reminding, the mare belongs to me." "Then I shall walk," responded Parmenion, his face flushed with anger. "You fool! When will you start using your mind?" "What do you mean?" "You know exactly what I am saying. My servants know where you are going. I know where you are going. Patroclus knows where you are going. You have conducted this affair with all the subtlety of a rutting bull." "How dare you, stormed Parmenion? You have spied on me." "What need was there for spies? You took her to your room on the first day, and her cries echoed around the house. You meet her on hillsides and walk hand in hand where you can be observed for miles. Patroclus would be within his rights to have you arrested and executed, but he is a man of honor and feels he owes you for your courage." "I intend to marry her," declared Parmenion. "It is not as you think." "As I said, Parmenion, you are a fool. Now return the mare to her stall." "Allow me to ride out to Dore. I need to talk to her," begged Parmenion. "She will not be there. She has been sent back to Sparta." Parmenion's throat was dry, his belly knotted. "Sent back? I will go to see Patroclus." Xenophon swung and lashed his open palm across Parmenion's face. The blow stung him, and he staggered. "Maybe the doctor purged you of brains," hissed Xenophon. "Will you think, man? You have violated a virgin. What will you say to a father? I want to marry her. What do you have to offer? What dowry do you bring? You are a penniless student without a landholding or a farm. You have no income. All you have done is ruin the girl for anyone else." "You make it sound vile," said Parmenion, "but it isn't. You don't understand, do you?" said the general sadly. "You cannot see it. The Rays pledged to Nestus, and they were to have been wed in the spring. When he hears of the shame to himself and his family, as he will, since you chose to act so openly, he will demand repayment of the dowry, and if he condemns the rape publicly, she will die. I will save her. She loves me, Xenophon. She is a gift from the gods to me. I know it. They will not let any harm come to her. Do not hate me for this. The Athenian laid his hands on Parmenian's shoulders. I do not hate you for it, my young friend. Your life has not been particularly blessed, but listen to me and try to use that part of your mind which we have trained. Do not think of Dore. Pull your thoughts away from what you call love and think of life as it has to be lived. You have brought great shame to Patroclus and to his whole family. You have shamed me, and you have shamed yourself. Love is born of caring, of compassion, of understanding. Do not talk of love, but speak openly and honestly of desire. You put Dore in a position of great danger. That is not the act of a lover. You have destroyed her reputation and blighted the name of a noble line. Tell me where love appears in this scene. Parmenion could not reply, but he led the mare back into a stall and removed the bridle. The events of the last 5 days seemed suddenly dreamlike and unreal. He saw now that Xenophon was right. He had shamed his friend and tarnished Dore. He walked back out into the sunlight, but Xenophon had gone. Parmenion wandered out into the garden, stopping by the bench where Dore had first kissed him. There had to be a way to resolve the dilemma, a way in which he and Dore could live together. He had decided months before to leave Sparta when he reached manhood, but Dore had changed all that. Now he just wanted to have enough money to marry and raise a family, to pay for his own boys to attend barracks. For most of the day he wrestled with the problem, seeing only one solution. At last, with the sun setting, he made his way back to the house. Xenophon was sitting in the courtyard eating a supper of figs and cheese. As Parmenion stood before him, I am sorry, sir, deeply sorry for the shame I have brought you. It is a terrible way to repay the friendship you have shown me. Xenophon shrugged. That is life, Parmenion. Sit down and eat. Tomorrow we will ride to the sea, feel the fresh winds upon our faces. When we return to Sparta, said Parmenion, I will sell the sword of Leonidas. With that money I will be able to marry Dore. We have almost 2 months here, said Xenophon, sadly, looking away. It will give you time to think out your plans, and Patroclus time to lose his anger. Much can happen in that interval. Perhaps the servants will not talk. Perhaps Nestus will forgive her. Who knows? But if you are to grow, Parmenion, if you are to become the man you ought to be, then you must learn from this experience. What can I learn? Not to fall in love? No man can do that. But you must realize that love is perilous. It affects the mind, blinding us to obvious realities. Think of Helen and Paris. They brought about the downfall of Troy. You think that is what they intended? No. They were merely lovers. You are one of the most intelligent and intuitive men I have ever met, and yet you have acted like a complete dullard. If that is what love brings, then I am thankful it has eluded me. It will end well, whispered Parmenion, I promise you. That is still love talking. No man of intellect makes a promise he cannot keep. Now eat, and let us talk of this no more tonight. As the weeks passed, Parmenion found Xenophon's wisdom once more to be true. The longing and the love he had for Dore did not pass, but his mind cleared and he felt a deep sense of shame for the foolish way he had conducted his affair. Had Patroclus been so minded, he could have taken the matter to the council, which would have recommended Parmenion's death to the ephors. There was no question of a defense. The law was specific. Any Spartan who violated a virgin was subject to death by poison or by the blade. Dore herself could be sacrificed to the death goddess, Hecate. Now Parmenion could look back on his passion with cool logic. In truth, he could not regret their lovemaking. It had been the high point of his life and had freed him from the miseries of his childhood, exercising bitterness and hatred. He no longer desired vengeance against Leonidas, no longer dreamed of leading an army against the Spartans. All he wanted now was to live with Dore and sire children of their love. During the days he rode with Xenophon out into the countryside of the Peloponnese, and when the sun had fallen he ran on the hillsides, building his strength and exhausting his passions with physical effort. At night he would sit with the Athenian general, discussing military tactics or political strategies. Xenophon was deeply distressed by Sparta's failure to provide sound leadership for Greece and gloomily predicted future disasters. Agesilaus cannot abide the Thebans and makes public his disdain. It is unwise. I love the man, but he is blind to the dangers. He cannot forget that it was Thebes' actions which brought him back from military success in Persia. He cannot forgive. And yet, said Parmenion, his return from Persia brought him great credit. He crushed the Thebans and restored Sparta's position. That is the popular Spartan view, Xenophon agreed, but in reality the only victor was Persia. But they had no part in the revolt, did they? Xenophon laughed aloud. Politics, Parmenion. Do not think merely of swords and campaigns. Agesilaus had invaded Persia, and he was winning. Persian gold, of which there is an unlimited supply, was sent to Thebes and Athens. With that gold they raised their armies. That is why Agesilaus was forced to come home. There was only one way he could win. He sent ambassadors to Persia, agreeing to their vassal. Persia then abandoned Thebes and Athens and supervised the peaceful negotiations. Good strategy, said Parmenion. No wonder the empires ruled for so long. With a little gold, they halted an invasion. Better than that, the Greek cities of Asia were all given over to the Persians. I did not know that, Parmenion said. It is not taught to Spartan youngsters. It would be bad for morale. But it is a canker with Agesilaus. He knows he can never march on Persia again, for Thebes and Athens would rise against Sparta in his absence. Surely he could meet with their leaders, then he could lead a joint expedition into Persia. Xenophon nodded. Exactly, but he never will. His hatred has blinded him. Do not misunderstand me, Parmenion. Agesilaus is a good king and a fine man, cultured and wise. I find it hard to understand, said Parmenion. Do you now? Love and hate are very similar. Think of your own madness with Derae. Did you take time to consider the perils? No. Agesilaus is the same. Mention Thebes and his face changes, and you can see his hand reaching for a sword hilt. Servants brought them their evening meal of fish and cheese. They ate in silence for a while, but Xenophon's appetite was not good, and he pushed away his plate, pouring a goblet of wine and adding a little water. He drank it swiftly and poured another. Perhaps Cleombrotus will make a difference, Parmenion suggested. The Spartans had always boasted two kings on the principle that one could lead the warriors into battle while the other stayed home and guided the fortunes of the city. Agesilaus had shared the kingship with his cousin, Agesipolis, but he was simple-minded and rarely appeared in public. Agesipolis' death 4 months before had seen the rise to power of Cleombrotus, a fine warrior and athlete. I doubt he will change the mind of Agesilaus, said Xenophon. Cleombrotus is sound enough, but he lacks intellect. I fear for Sparta. Those whom the gods would destroy, they first make proud, he quoted. Surely pride is Sparta's greatest strength, said Parmenion, watching with concern as Xenophon refilled his goblet without bothering to add water. Indeed it is. But do you know how many true Spartiates are left in the city? Fewer than 2,000. For the mess bills have risen, and the poorer Spartans can no longer afford to send their children. Think of yourself. Your mother had a good holding, but it has gone to pay for your education. It is nonsense. In 10 years, the number of Spartiates will have halved again. How then will Sparta remain preeminent? And how long will it be before we see your strategy from the games used in reality? Do not let it sadden you, Xenophon. None of it is within your power to change. That is what saddens me, the general admitted.